Behold, I am Isis. I am the queen of heaven, the mother of all, the wielder of sacred words. From the shimmering depths of the Nile to the furthest reaches of the cosmos, my dominion extends. I am the breath that stirs the wind, the fire that kindles the stars, the very essence of life and magic woven into the fabric of existence. By my will, kingdoms rise and fall. Through my wisdom, secrets are unveiled, and the veiled is revealed. I am the enchantress who binds the unbindable, the healer who mends the shattered, and the sovereign who grants resurrection to the worthy. The mysteries of life and death bow before my divine decree. Fear not, my children, for I am the eternal mother, boundless in my compassion, infinite in my grace. I offer the light of knowledge to those who seek, solace to the sorrowing, and strength to the faltering. Embrace the gifts I bestow, the fertility of the earth, the protection of the innocent, and the power of truth. Let my voice resound through the ages. Let my name be whispered with reverence. For I am Isis, and my love and my power shall endure forever. So it is spoken, so it shall be. I'm Courtney.
And I'm Brandon, and welcome to the Time Travelers Club. Today we will continue where we left off last time and further discuss not just the stories about the goddess Isis, but also her role and many aspects within mythology. So as we talked about before, Isis became immensely popular, especially during the later periods of Egyptian history, like Ptolemaic and Roman eras. Her cult wasn't just a local thing, though. It exploded, spreading like wildfire across the entire Mediterranean world and beyond. But perhaps what made her so compelling was her incredible ability to assimilate characteristics from countless other goddesses. Think of her as the ancient world's spiritual chameleon, seamlessly blending in with the other deities. So, today we are going to take some time to discuss this and tell you some more stories outside that main Osiris myth we've already covered. One example of this is her synchronization with the cow-headed goddess Hathor. She was primarily an Egyptian goddess of motherhood, joy, music, and love. Isis took on her nurturing qualities and even some of her iconography, like the cow horns and sun disk. We kind of covered that a little bit at the end of that Osiris myth last time. The whole Horus cut off her head thing, and then replace it with a cow. That Thoth could replace it with the cows. Like that may be a way for them to explain the assimilation with Hathor. That's just my guess. Just an aside, gentle Hathor is the same as the fearsome lion-headed war goddess Sekhmet, whose fire breath was so destructive even the gods feared it. Gotta love a badass mother.
I mean, it's necessary.
And I just love that. Even the like sweet, oh, look at the sweet cow goddess lady. She's so nice. And she'll kill you with the breath of nuclear holocaust.
Yes, she will, because guess what? Cows kill a hell of a lot more people.
That's true. Well, I just love that she turned into a fire-breathing fucking lioness bitch.
She did.
Happy, what the ultimate happy wife, happy life.
It is. And you know what? I cannot wait until we travel to India and talk about Pavarti. Because this, yes, this I feel is very reflective of that. We're not going to get into that this time because that is an entirely different pantheon, but it is necessary to just show you that there are different aspects that pop up of these people, and they have different epithets for it. So truly, I believe that Hathor and Sekhmet are just an epithet of Isis in this case.
Yeah, and again, maybe if there's not a direct connection to that pantheon, right? Because some people try to use that for some real alternative history, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think instead of complicating it, let's just keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
People,
Absolutely.
there are cultures and people who respect women and understand women have multiple sides. And that's a
Absolutely.
could be a universal theme that was common amongst ancient cultures. Wow, what a
Well,
concept, right?
because it's a universal truth. These women, they
Right.
just don't stop sharing their mind. Go figure.
Yeah. And some may blow you up with nuclear fire breath, but hey, you know.
That too. So for the next one, it is not a surprise that there is an overlap with Isis and her mother, Nut, a sky goddess. Nut is often depicted arched over the earth and is an image iconic in many tombs. And this inside of sarcophagi where her form literally embraces the deceased in an eternal night. As her daughter, Isis absorbed some of her cosmic power and dominion over the heavens, leading to the titles like Queen of Heaven. This wasn't just a poetic phrase, it underscored her control over the celestial realm. This is also tied to her son Horus, the falcon-headed god continuing the family tradition. Interestingly enough, she did also have some commonalities with Demeter, the Greek goddess of agriculture, harvest, and the cycle of life and death. Given Isis's own role in bringing agriculture and her connection to Osiris's resurrection, this was a natural fit. Later, her followers with Greek heritage could easily see her as the benevolent provider of substance or sustenance, just like Demeter.
Yeah, and like when we talked about a little bit with the mystery cults and stuff, right? I mean, Demeter had this connection to death and the underworld, and clearly Isis does too with her, brought to life again, dead again husband, right? So, I mean, while not identical stories, like I could see how they could make that crossover pretty easily.
Absolutely.
In a way, she could also loosely be tied with Aphrodite, Greek goddess of love, beauty, and pleasure and procreation. And I know kind of what you guys are thinking, like, okay, Isis so far the way we've described her versus what Aphrodite's described, right? I mean, to be fair, she did those things out of love, right?
hmm
She did make a golden dong, so she can definitely help with procreation. Um, so it's not that wild. Isis as a goddess of fertility and devoted wife and mother certainly embodied aspects of passionate love, creative power, making the connection an easy leap for the Hellenistic worshippers. Later, as Egypt would be colonized by Greeks and Romans, she would also pick up characteristics from the goddess of fortune, luck, and destiny, Kike or Fortana in Roman. As her cult grew and people prayed for success in all their ventures, Isis increasingly became seen as a bringer of good fortune, presiding over the whims of fate. You'd pray to Isis for a prosperous voyage or a good harvest, knowing she could influence your destiny. This whole process, called syncretism, wasn't about replacing the goddesses. It was about integrating their powers and attributes into Isis, making her a truly universal deity capable of addressing almost any human need or concern. She truly became the goddess of 10,000 names because she could be any goddess for any worshiper. So let's dive a little deeper into the two most compelling aspects. The first is her role as Isis Pelagia, or the guiding star of the seas. As her cult spread through vital maritime trade routes, from the bustling ports of Alexandria to Rome, Pompeii, and even distant Britain, Isis became wow, I cannot talk. My God. She became linked, guys, with the sea. She, God, that was hard.
It
Talking's
is
hard.
okay. Inextricably. Yes, that
There
word.
you go.
That
I should
one.
have had you read this. I should have had you do this. God. She wasn't just a protector, though. She was the very embodiment of safe passage. Just like she wasn't just a queen, she was the embodiment of the throne itself. Remember? Isis to Temples to Isis often sprang up near harbors, acting as beacons for sailors. I feel like this is also maybe a link because of all the immigrants, right? Where are they coming
hmm
from?
Yep.
And they're gonna where are they gonna pop up? on these harbors, and a lot of times it's like New York, right? Ellis Island, all the immigrants tended to stay in New York or nearby cities, right? I mean,
They don't
makes
go far.
sense. Right. So I mean, to me, that also makes sense why she kind of was in these places too.
Hmm.
Um, her epithet, Isis Pelagia, meaning of the sea, or Isis Pharea, referring to the lighthouse of Alexandria, was one of the highlights in this crucial role. Her festivals, like Nivigium Isidis, the prowing of Isis, or the voyage of Isis, were spectacles of this devotion. This annual spring festival, held around March 5th, sparked the opening of the sailing season. Imagine the vibrant scene. A beautifully adorned ship, often representing Isis's sacred bark, would be launched into the sea, laden with offerings. Priests and devotees dressed in white linen would proceed through the streets, carrying sacred images, flowers, and musical instruments like the sistrum. This wasn't just a parade, though. It was a powerful ritual to invoke Isis's protection for that year's voyages, ensuring good winds, calm seas, and prosperous trade. It was a moment of public rejoicing and fervent prayer, a demonstration of her crucial role in the ancient economy and daily life. Kind of reminds me of, I don't know, it's a really pretty scene, like those Shinto festivals you see in like an anime or something. I
Hmm.
don't know, it just seems, there's a serious aspect, but it's light and there's
It's
still some fun
joyous.
there.
It's
Yeah,
joyous. That's the difference. It's not
yeah.
stern and stark and serious. It's joyous. It's
But not as
joyful.
raucous as like the Dionysian stuff either.
Hmm.
It's just a good time,
It
Like we
is.
all want to have a good year. Yeah, I like it.
So, the other image is that of Isis Lectans, which we covered last time. The enduring
Hmm.
image of the divine mother. This image of Isis nursing the infant Horus wasn't just popular. It was profoundly resonant. In fact, you've probably seen this image at some point. It tapped into a universal human experience, the primal bond between mother and child. This iconography, which depicts the goddess seated, holding a child to her breast, perfectly symbolized not just maternal care and nurturing, but also divine sustenance, the idea that she provided life itself, both physically and spiritually. There is even a theory that this image influenced early Christian depictions of the Virgin Mary and Christ. It is significant. That is a very significant one among scholars. While
Hmm.
direct causal proof is debated, the visual and thematic parallels are striking. In a world saturated with the image of a divine mother suckling her divine child, it's highly plausible that early Christian artists and communities, many of whom were converts from pagan faiths, would unconsciously or consciously draw upon these familiar, powerful visual tropes to represent their own sacred mother figure. This shows Isis's lasting impact, transcending her original religious context into future religious art.
Yeah, and that makes sense, right? I mean, if we're doing a direct parallel, and there are some people who are putting this out. I'm not saying like there's not a ton of water to this, but Jesus is in, the newborn king, right? King,
Mm-hmm.
king, Prince of God, whatever, king on earth, right? And what was, and therefore Mary was the mother of said king, right? What was Horus and the Pharaoh?
Mm-hmm.
King, God king on earth, Isis being the mother who helped nurture that God king, right? I mean, it
Absolutely.
is there. We get it.
Oh, it's definitely there, and considering this is incredibly close to the area which birthed Christianity,
Hmm.
yeah, this is this definitely was an influence in it.
Hmm.
So, her titles like Queen of Heaven and Mistress of All weren't just poetic flourishes. They literally meant she had dominion over everything. She was seen as presiding over heaven, the stars, planets, and celestial bodies. All of these were under her sway. Specifically, she was often associated with Suptit. today known as Sirius, the brightest star, whose heliacal rising heralded the annual Nile flood. In her earthly form, she brought forth its bounty through agriculture and sustained life. She was present in the fertile soil, the growing crops, and the very air people breathed. As the one who resurrected Osiris and guided the dead, she had unparalleled authority in the realm of the deceased, ensuring their transition and well-being. This incredible adaptability and all-encompassing nature made her the ultimate patron deity, a cosmic power capable of interceding in any aspect of existence. She truly transitioned from a protective mother goddess within the Egyptian pantheon to a cosmic deity of immense power and universal appeal across the various cultures.
Exactly. I mean, we can't stress this enough, you know. I mean, you have other goddess figures in this general area, right? Like, I would say the nearest parallel might be Hera, right? And you almost
Mhm.
think, okay, well, there should be a connection, right? She is also the goddess of stars and heavens, right? But yet, Hera's definitely a secondary role in the myths, but also kind of portrayed as pretty bad. You know, not always, but flawed. Whereas, and I don't know, I just feel like Hera doesn't have any myths that give her Mother of the Year award. You know, I
No,
feel like
she
she's not
really
very
doesn't.
relatable. She's not relatable. And
No, and
yet, and
considering how Isis actually was living pretty much a mortal life in running
mhm.
from Set with Horus, I think that's really what appealed her to a wider area of worship. The fact that she could find the humanity within her divinity.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is like you see in Greek myths, right? When like, oh, a god disguises themselves, it's because of trickery, and then they'll go, "Ha ha! Look at me! I'm actually a god or goddess," right? And then it's like, oh, and it's this air of I'm better than you.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like with Isis, it's not the same way. It's like I'm yes, it's I guess in a way she's better, but like it's because I am helping you guys be better. Not that I'm actually better, but I'm teaching you how to be better. I'm living as an example,
Yes,
you know, and I think that makes her, therefore, that makes her relatable. And I just, you know, and no man is taking away any of her power either. Like, yeah, Hera is the goddess of the heavens and stuff, but is she really? If Daddy Zeus told her, "Give me your star," would she say no? And how many people has he fucked that he put into said stars?
hmm.
He really have control over that? No. And Osiris would never. He would
Oh my
never.
god,
So,
Osiris could never.
no. Like, I don't know. So just to me, like, like, so it's, if you wondered why we haven't made that parallel, I'm sure there probably was a small sect that maybe did, but I, you would think it'd be on the nose, but for these reasons, it's just something I like to throw out there. They are two cosmic goddesses, but they are so different in how they represent that, and I just think that's really cool.
Agreed.
So let's uncork a bit more on Isis's fascinating, if indirect, link to beer. That's right. I said it, beer. This was a staple of ancient Egyptian life. Isis is directly associated with the cultivation of barley and wheat itself, the very backbone of ancient Egyptian agriculture. Later on, this will be really important to our story because Egypt is kind of in the ancient world the breadbasket of the entire region. It's if you have Egypt, you rule the world because you
Mm-hmm.
can feed your armies and your people. And if Egypt cuts you off, it's a problem.
Very much so.
So just mm-hmm. So like I cannot stress that enough. So she's often depicted with symbols of agricultural abundance, like sheaths of grain or baskets of fruit. Myth ex- some myths explicitly credit her and Osiris with bringing the knowledge of farming to humanity. Imagine a world without organized agriculture. No stable food supply, no settled communities, no civilization as we know it. I will say that there's an argument to be said about a more nomadic life. I'm not saying it's better, but to the Egyptians it was.
Mm-hmm.
So while she didn't necessarily invent the fermentation process, that was, of course, likely an accidental discovery. But her gift of agriculture was an enabling factor for beer production. Without the cultivation of these essential crops on a large scale, there would be no consistent surplus of grain to ferment in beer. She laid the fundamental groundwork, the very foundation in which the brewing industry was built. In essence, she provided all the raw materials and knowledge to grow them, making her the sort of indirect facilitator of this beer's existence. As we mentioned earlier, Isis is the archetype divine mother and provider, and her role was to ensure the sustenance and well-being of her family, Horus, and by extension, all of humanity. In Egypt, beer wasn't just an alcoholic beverage, and to be fair, most of history, it was not just an alcoholic beverage you enjoyed. It was a crucial part of daily diet, providing calories, nutrients, and even hydration, as water quality could be questionable, especially the Nile. Guys, I
Very
mean,
much
I know
so.
it's beautiful, but pathogens aside, this is the same water, if you were drinking it, as you and every cow, animal, and whatever are shitting in.
Yep.
And that's, to be fair, pretty consistent against with most cultures, unless some did have some plumbing. But for the most part, and for most of human existence, that is the case. You don't drink from the city's water. You just don't. That's
Nope.
why it was a big deal in Paris during the Olympics. Poo water, no one wants it. Um, so when you can't drink water, here it is. And it had a good shelf life. It was a stable food drink, and it was a staple food and drink consumed by men, women, and even children. Though it was a lesser alcoholic version, of course. They're not giving them the hard hooch. Well, maybe they're teething. I don't know. What do you think? Like,
I
you've got
mean,
kids. I don't.
likely they did. But from everything that I have seen just about beer production overall, um, so they would have the really strong, I'm almost going to call it grog. The initial batch was like really strong, and then two or three batches
Mm,
later it was watered down because you could
mm,
remake more beer out of the same hops. And so the
mhm.
kids or younger people would get like the third or fourth batch, which is very, very lightly alcoholic versus the first batch, which is I'm going to sleep.
Fair enough. I was gonna say maybe they. I was gonna say maybe it's like what bad parents do with Benadryl. I'm not judging anybody. La 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 la. I'm just saying that there are some parents who give their kids Benadryl to make them go to sleep, and I feel like it's a little bit like roofing. But I'm also not a parent. I'm not judging. But
Yeah,
as long as no one's dead, as long as no one's dead. But
please don't die.
I don't know. Please don't die. I don't know your situation in particular. I feel like there's probably better ways of handling that, but I don't know. I'm not in that position to judge. But with this in mind, like this whole, like what you said in mind, we will. It's actually funny you mentioned like the first batch versus watering it down, like well, or whatever subsequent batches. This actually touches a lot on what we'll talk about in our Patreon episode, where we discuss ancient winemaking, and so it's actually kind of neat that we're already kind of touching on that. There, but anyway, therefore, a primary provider of life's necessities, beer naturally fell under Isis's purview. Her nurturing spirit extended to ensuring people had access to vital foodstuff. She provided the means of agriculture and the nurturing spirit that allowed beer to become an integral part of daily life, supporting families and fueling society. Beer's role in ancient Egypt also extended into medicine and ritual, as it was often used as a base for medicinal concoctions, mixing herbs and other ingredients to create healing draughts. Given Isis's supreme status as a healer and mistress of magic, she would have invoked contexts where beer was part of a remedy. And then again, back to when we talk about this in the Patreon, this also kind of makes sense. We talk about Egypt with winemaking
Hmm.
and how they were kind of purists. And this kind of is interesting because then it's like, okay, maybe that's also because when they add things to them, that's like, no, we do that for medicine. We're not just doing that for fun.
Yep,
So that could be an interesting way of looking at that, you know?
absolutely.
And when we say concoct, I don't want you guys to like, ooh, witch's brew. Honestly, there's a lot of beneficial properties to different plants and herbs. And when we say that, like they're used in cooking, like turmeric paired with black pepper is an anti-inflammatory. You need both for it to work. But like, and it's in a lot of Indian food
Yep.
just because that's what you use. And so therefore, naturally, you're eating this thing that helps. I mean, so like they may not have understood the why, but they definitely probably picked up on a lot of these, like, hey, we've noticed this helps. So if you mix it into something like alcohol, think about cough syrup. Why can't you drink cough syrup? It's the same reason, because there's
Hmm.
alcohol in it,
Yep. No,
amongst other things. But
and here's the thing, like I have been studying herbalism not just as like a ho hi, I am a practicing witch. I have been practicing witchcraft for 20 years, but also in a medicinal
mhm,
form. There is a bunch of
mhm,
different ways to create medicine out of herbs. There's salves, which is rendering down the um, whatever kind of herb it is, either the oil or whatnot, into a fat
mhm,
and having that applied. There's
mhm,
tinctures which do the alcohol method. There is there is water ones where it is pretty much making a tea or like a concentrate. There's a bunch of different ways to use this, and the fact that they were actually creating this with their beer probably made it more palatable to them because this was so much part of
mhm.
their daily consumption.
Well, that's true. And like, like when you think of gin, right? What gin is floral because they literally add floral things to it. It's it'd be different if you were just drinking lavender juice, like lavender water. I mean, I'm sure people do. I'm just saying by themselves they probably don't taste that great, but if you put it with alcohol, it changes it. Um, and also I just thought I love this because, I know for you this is more spiritual and stuff, but there's a scientific side to this, right?
Hmm.
Like with the salves and stuff. There is like proof. Like there's plants that have anti-inflammatory properties or antimicrobial properties, right?
Yep.
Therefore, and fat on a wound absorbs, depends on the fat, but when I say fats, I mean like oils and stuff typically, but the Ainu, for example, used bear fat. But the
Hmm.
point is that absorbs better than water, which makes sense because like if you dump water on something, right, it just runs right off you. But if you get out of a fat, it can kind of sit there for a minute,
Yep.
and really absorb into you, and because
Exactly.
they didn't have the chemical ability to make gels like we do now, they did that instead, or like coconut oils and things like that. I mean,
No,
do
and
that
it's
now.
amazing what was done. And yes, I do use it in a spiritual context, but I also use it in an actual medicinal context just because I have a lot of physical ailments, and
Mhm,
while modern medicine has its place, has its time, has everything to do with, how we can get better as a society, there are times where we don't need so much antibiotics. There is a time for herbal medicine, there is a time for antibiotics.
yeah,
I'll put it
and
that way.
right, exactly. Like this is not like, hey guys, you don't need a doctor or real medicine. No, but like I'm just saying that like even modern medicines have basis from this. They may be more refined or more modernized, sterilized, whatever, but like Neosporin is a more refined version of this thought,
Hmm.
right? I'm just saying, and no, your ancient, Egyptian lady or Celtic woman or whatever, or guy, I'm not, there were guys who were medicine people too, and priests and stuff. They didn't have access to Neosporin, but they did know that that particular plant worked really, really well. And if they mixed it with a little coconut oil, whatever, bear fat, whatever, and they put it on, they've noticed that hey, people don't lose their limbs
Comfrey.
because
The
they didn't
herb
get
is
infections.
comfrey.
And that's the other aspect too is if nothing else, right, there is a psychosomatic aspect to this. And I don't mean like you're tricking anybody, but there's a comfort, right?
Hmm.
If you smell, especially if this is like your culture and you're raised in it, certain smells, right, bring comfort, right? And if you knew when you were sick, your mother would apply a certain plant to you, and it was safe, of course, because you lived, but like it has certain smell. That in an environment full of comfort and love and rest, that can do wonders for recovery. And we
Hmm.
know that. So when I say psychosomatic, because I don't mean that like you're tricking anybody, but you have to convince someone they're going to get better for them to get the proper rest and things. And even if it's just the smell that's doing it, and they may not recognize that's all it was doing, but that's still a powerful thing. It's
It
still
is.
helping.
And
So
I'm gonna correct it. I don't think it's psychosomatic. I think it is opening somebody up to be more receptive.
true. And I'm saying it like there are people who think that sort of thing is quote unquote psychosomatic. And
Gotcha.
when they say it like that, there is that connotation of it being like a trick or something negative. And I don't think it needs to be.
It
It
really
does, and
doesn't.
like even if something is quote unquote psychosomatic in its truest definition, that by itself is not necessarily negative either. We have scenes where if someone psychosomatically thinks they're going to get better, sometimes that does actually do something, and we still don't always understand why. So, no, just like they didn't understand why certain things worked, we
Mhm.
still don't understand things now. So maybe we don't judge. But so anyway, for instance, a medical papyrus might prescribe a beer-based remedy for a particular ailment. The practitioner might invoke Isis's blessing to empower the cure. Similarly, beer was a common offering to the gods, especially Isis, in temples during funerary rites. As a powerful deity, revered in both life and death, offerings of beer to Isis would have been frequent, solidifying her symbolic connection to this production and consumption in both practical and sacred contexts. It wasn't just a drink, it was a vessel for divine interaction.
Absolutely. So, of course, Isis's role in the afterlife was profound, but it expanded beyond her initial act of resurrecting Osiris to become a universal guide and protector for all deceased individuals. Her presence provided immense comfort and assurance. While Anubis, the jackal-headed god of embalming in the underworld, and Thoth, the ibis-headed god of knowledge and scribes, were indeed central to the weighing of the heart ceremony in the Hall of Ma'at, Isis's presence alongside her sister Nephthys was incredibly significant. They weren't just bystanders. They symbolized the divine support and validation for the deceased seeking entry into the blessed fields of Aru. The deceased's heart, representing their conscience and deeds, was weighed against the feather of Ma'at, truth and justice. The presence of Isis and Nephthys often depicted standing near the scales or behind the deceased, offering a sense of compassionate endorsement. They were the ultimate sympathizers, having mourned and revived Osiris. Their silent presence was a source of immense comfort, reassuring the deceased that they had a powerful divine ally, advocating for their successful passage into the eternal afterlife, just as they had done for Osiris. The ancient underworld, the Duat, was a perilous journey, filled with monstrous guardians, fiery lakes, and treacherous paths. The deceased needed powerful divine assistance to navigate it successfully. Isis was sometimes depicted or invoked as a goddess who opened the ways for the deceased. This meant clearing obstacles, providing safe passage through dangerous zones, and revealing the correct paths. Her magical prowess, demonstrated vividly in the Osiris myth, was crucial here. Egyptians believed that by invoking Isis's name and carrying amulets inscribed with her image, the deceased could rely on her power to overcome the threats of the Duat and reach the blessed fields of Aru, their eternal paradise. She was essentially the ultimate GPS for the afterlife. And I say, hear, hear.
Yep. And at the same time, it's not to diminish her role, but like, I mean, imagine if your Google Maps, if you had like a traffic jam coming up, could just float you over the top of it.
Just like, oh,
Like that'd
there
be
we go.
great. Just we're gonna avoid all
And
that stuff.
and this is why we need flying cars. But I digress.
Hmm.
So ancient Egyptians believed that a human being was composed of various spiritual components. The Ba, often depicted as the human-headed bird representing the personality and mobility of the soul. The Ka, the life force or spiritual double. The Ak, the glorified, transfigured spirit that ascended to the stars. And the physical body. So you have the Ba, the Ka, and the Ak. For eternal life to be truly successful, these components needed to be reunited and function in harmony. Just as Isis meticulously reassembled Osiris's fragmented body, she was believed to aid in the spiritual reunification of the deceased's various components. This wasn't a literal reassembly of physical parts, but a mystical act ensuring their spiritual wholeness and integrity. By bringing these aspects together, she ensured their complete and successful transition to eternal life, allowing them to fully exist and thrive in the afterlife. She guaranteed that the deceased wouldn't just be a ghost, but a whole, complete, and powerful being in the realm of the gods.
And I just thought this would be kind of interesting, like, when we say like, feels like I've lost a piece of myself or if they've lost a piece of themselves. It's kind of interesting that I feel like there's kind of a comparison, like, or at least maybe it's kind of like the same thought, right?
Mm-hmm.
If one loses a literal piece of their soul, like their ba or ka or whatever, you've lost a piece of yourself. You're not whole. You're not yourself. So I find that, like, I wonder if there's some kind of connection there. That'd be interesting to find out. But
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, there is. Because in order for you to get past the scales and to have that successful transition into the afterlife, you had to have been true to
mhm,
yourself as a person because
mhm,
that weighs on your conscience as well, right?
mhm,
Your heart has to literally be lighter than the feather. So you can't be weighed down by regret and remorse and these terrible negative things because
yeah,
it's not going to serve you there. And here in the now, in our time period, unfortunately, we are saddled with a lot of these regrets and remorse and things of that nature because we have to function in specific fashions that are very, very unlike who we actually are.
mhm, absolutely. So Isis's profound grief for Osiris is one of the most poignant aspects of her character, and her tears are not just a symbol of sorrow, but of cosmic significance. The annual Nile flood, the Akhet, was the lifeblood of ancient Egypt, bringing fertile black silt to the land and allowing agriculture to flourish. In some traditions, particularly during the period of the flood, it was believed that the tears of Isis shed for Osiris contributed directly to the rising waters of the Nile. This transformed her personal grief into benevolent, life-giving act for all humanity. That's just a beautiful thought,
It
like,
really is.
God, it's poetic. I love that. I mean, like, there are other, like, there's other, like, Nile flooding reasons in ancient Egyptian mythology, but like I like that particular one. Like, that's beautiful. Like, even her
Understandable.
tears are at the benefit of everyone. I don't know. That's cool. But this powerful myth created a profound connection between divine suffering and earthly renewal. Does that sound familiar? Huh. Um, sorry. Her sorrow wasn't just a lament. It was an act of creation, literally watering the earth and ensuring the continued prosperity of Egypt. This cyclical, God, I can't talk. connection reinforced the idea that even profound loss could lead to new life and abundance, a comforting thought for people whose existence depended entirely on the river's bounty. Isis's lamentations, often performed with her sister Nephthys, known as the Weepers, for Osiris, were highly ritualized. These sacred mourning rituals became a central part of funerary rites throughout Egypt. Professional mourners, often women, would reenact her grief, wailing, tearing at their hair, and beating their chests and breasts, mirroring the mythical sorrow of the goddess. These ritualized lamentations served several crucial purposes. They expressed the community's grief, honored the deceased, and most importantly, invoked the transformative power of Isis's own resurrection magic. By ritually mirroring the divine mourning, it was believed that the deceased would be aided in their transition, protected from dangers of the underworld, and ensured their well-being into the afterlife, much like Osiris himself was aided by his devoted wife. It was a sympathetic magic, harnessing the divine sorrow to secure human salvation.
As the mother of Horus, the legitimate heir to the throne after Osiris, Isis played an absolutely crucial role in legitimizing the pharaoh's rule. This wasn't just a religious detail. It was the foundation of the state's political structure. Every pharaoh was not merely a ruler. He was considered the earthly embodiment of Horus, the living king. Therefore, Isis was revered as the divine mother of the king. This bestowed upon the pharaoh an unparalleled level of divine sanction for his rule. His authority came directly from the gods, specifically from his divine mother, Isis, who ensured his legitimacy and right to the throne. This concept elevated her status considerably within the state religion, making her a foundational pillar of royal ideology. Pharaohs would build magnificent temples to her, knowing that her blessing was paramount to their reign.
Because she's
Isis,
the throne.
she is the throne. She absolutely is the throne, because without her, there is
Mm-hmm.
no king. Period.
Correct.
Isis was not just a symbolic mother. She was an active protectress of the pharaoh. She was frequently depicted on temple walls, royal regalia, and in royal iconography, standing behind or beside the pharaoh, shielding him with her wings and offering him symbols of life and power. Her protection was seen as vital for ensuring the pharaoh's strength, his triumph over enemies, and the stability of Egypt itself. This mirrored her fierce protection of the young Horus from the machinations of Seth. Pharaohs believed that just as she secured Horus's rightful place on the throne, she would secure theirs against all threats, both internal and external. This divine guardianship made her an indispensable figure in the maintenance of royal power. These expanded aspects further illuminate Isis' profound and multifaceted influence on Egyptian religion and culture. She wasn't just a figure in ancient epic narratives. She was an ever-present, dynamic force deeply woven into the daily lives, spiritual beliefs, and political structures of ancient Egypt, truly earning her title as one of the most powerful and enduring goddesses in history.
And she was a woman.
Ta-da!
I love it. I love it. I love that it's like, God, as we've done this about her, I've really fallen in love with this aspect and this image. Just, it's really cool, you know? Just
It is.
so many like state, you know, in the ancient cultures, like the state god or goddess, like they're badass, but like in a very violent, aggressive way. And yet she's not. But like, man, I don't know. It's just really cool. She's protective, but loving and nurturing. I don't know. It's and smart. It's just, I like it. I think that it's like, you don't have to just be super strong and aggressive to be powerful
No.
or the
And
most powerful.
and the funny thing is, aggressive rulership will always lead to aggressive confrontation. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that it is undisputed that she is powerful because she doesn't have to use force. She doesn't
Well,
have
not
to. It's
really,
not required.
except that whole harpoon thing. But
That's a little
let's see, that
different.
didn't work out.
That was a little different. No, and honestly, that does show that she tried to use force, but that wasn't her nature, and she ended up hurting her own cause.
Mm-hmm. Hurting the one she loved.
Exactly.
Yeah. For then stabbing her, brother-in-law slash brother in the ass. But hey, no. But I think it's great. I just think that, and as we continue with some of the stories now, I want everyone to kind of keep that in mind. So now that we've gotten to the discussion of her role in mythology out of the way, let's unpack some of the more pivotal myths and see how they solidify Isis' reputation as the magical powerhouse, a compassionate deity, and clever strategist. The first one I want to talk about is Isis and the Seven Scorpions. We kind of sort of touched it a little bit when we were talking about the Horus thing, but I wanted to kind of because it's kind of its own side story, I wanted to keep it separate, and not confuse the narrative of that original story. So, the myth is more than just a charming tale. It's a foundational narrative for understanding Isis' role as the benevolent yet formidable force. The story opens with Isis in a moment of profound vulnerability. You remember this, fleeing from Set's wrath. This immediately establishes her as a protective mother, desperate to shield her child. Um, Her disguise as a humble beggar underscores her connection to ordinary people and their struggles. The seven scorpions aren't just pets, they're divine guardians, fiercely loyal extensions of her will. Their names themselves might have magical significance, hinting at their particular strengths or characteristics. The encounter with the rich woman and poor woman in the story also serve as powerful moral parables. The rich woman is unkind, and that unkindness is not just rude, it's profound social transgression within Egyptian culture, where hospitality was highly valued. And that's true for the Greeks and stuff later as well. In the ancient world, right? In general, this is a thing. You It's just like good karma, like in a world where everyone's so far removed from each other, laws of hosting really need to be honored. Because if you're out there, that could happen to you. And poor or not, king or not, it's important that these are upheld. These ideas of being a host and hospitality. Um, Her fear of the scorpions, even though Isis's disguise, leads to a cruel rejection. In stark contrast, a poor woman, despite her meager circumstances, embodies the true generosity and compassion and welcomes the stranger and her unusual companions. This sets up a clear dichotomy between material wealth and moral richness. The scorpion's revenge, while seemingly disproportionate, reflects a sense of divine justice. They represent the immediate consequences of unkindness. Don't be a dick. Just like
Preferably.
Dionysus says, don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
That's,
Just don't
don't be a
be a
dick.
dick. You don't know
Right.
who the bigger woman is at the door. You don't know what's going on.
Right.
And I just watched Beauty and the Beast again, and I'm just thinking, oh shit, take the rose and give her a room.
I know. That's what I'm thinking too. Take the damn scorpions. I know they're gross.
That's okay.
Just do it.
Just do
Just
it.
do it. Crazy beggar lady gives you scorpions. Just take them. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good message. I don't know if in today's world you should be doing that. But
Probably not.
just, I guess, at your own risk. Don't be a jerk about it, though. Try to find a way to politely turn them down. Um, but anyway, the pooling of the venom into one of the scorpion's stingers elevates the severity of the act, showing a deliberate, powerful retribution. The immediate illness of the child and the outbreak of fire signify the potent, almost cosmic impact of divine retribution for the rich woman's actions. So in this story, and I don't love this, but it's not the rich woman who gets punished, it's the kid. It just kind of sucks. And then so everything goes on fire. But,
No,
like,
and
don't.
it kind
It's
of
kind of
makes
giving Beauty and
sense.
the Beast vibes.
It's definitely
It
giving
definitely
Beauty and the
is, because that
Beast
whole
vibes.
household got punished too.
Yes, and here's the thing. Your bad actions are not something that you inherit the punishment for. The
Sure.
innocent can also inherit the punishment for your bad actions. So think
That's
about that.
true. That's a really profound lesson, and really relevant to today too. Yeah.
God,
I
yes.
just think about, like, we talk about that all the time, right? Like, I mean, like, climate change or whatever, and I don't care if it's
Mm-hmm.
controversial, whatever. But like the actions of, if you want to make it not controversial, we'll go back further. When the Victorians and stuff were dumping all that toxic waste and shit into like rivers and lakes, like up here in Syracuse, New York,
Mm-hmm.
it took generations to clean that all up.
Mm-hmm.
So your bad actions hurt the future, including your own children. And that's awesome. I bet. Look at you blowing my mind.
No, and that's why I'm here. That's why we're partners in this.
Hmm. Well, eventually, I guess she's sorry, because the rich woman's deep humbling and subsequent offering of wealth complete the moral cycle. And therefore, Isis brings the kid back because she can do that. It's not just a happy ending. It's a lesson in repentance and the transformative power of divine mercy. So, and again, I do kind of like that about her. Again, she was kind of she was smiting people, but she will undo it if you mean it. She can undo it. She's not just going to leave you with that. She just wants you to learn a lesson, kind of like Dionysus. You
Agreed.
know, learn the lesson. This myth cemented Isis' reputation as a supreme healer, particularly against venomous bites, as you can imagine. Ancient Egyptian medical papyri actually contain spells directly derived from this myth, used by practitioners to cure scorpion stings and snake bites. By reciting Isis' words, the healer sought to channel her power, essentially reenacting this divine cure, kind of like the mourners, right? Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
The story also clearly illustrates the principle of divine justice. Unkindness will be met with swift retribution, while kindness and generosity and compassion are rewarded. It also reinforces Isis's power as like a cosmic divine deity with ultimate um, say over life and death. This
She,
wasn't just a grand myth. It had practical implications for Egyptians who faced threats from scorpions and poisonous insects in general daily. Isis was a deity to invoke for protection and cure. I'm sorry, I know you were going to say something. Go ahead.
no, and honestly, it's best to stay on her good side. Truly, it did cement her place as the ultimate judgment. I can give you a good day or I can give you a bad day. Your action depends on is your choice. Just like goddamn.
Yeah, but at the same time, I like some of the Greek myths where it's like, haha, I was a god the whole time, and their lessons like, be careful, you could piss off a god and offend a god.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about, and be warned, you shouldn't offend people because bad things can happen if you're a jerk to people. And that's more what Isis's lesson is here. It's not that she's pissed that you pissed off a god. Like, how dare you? I'm a god. And I was in disguise, so how did you not know? To you. It's more like, hey, if I'm a goddess, you're going to treat me cool. What if I was a normal person? Would you still do
No.
it?
And
And
character
and
is
you
the
failed.
actions that you take whenever no one is looking. And what she is doing is she's actually testing the character of these people. And the fact
Correct.
that they pass or fail dependent on their kind actions, but it can be reversed. She is forgiving. That you don't
If you
see in the
right,
ancient world.
if you're truly repentant and you're truly sorry, you can fix it. Not always 100%. I mean, I feel like if your actions led to the death of your kid, probably not coming back. But
Yeah, no, definitely not.
in
I don't think
most
she would forgive
scenarios,
anybody for that.
though, if you do something wrong, right? And I suppose if no one died, right?
Mhm.
You can try to be better and try to make it right. Acknowledge you were wrong. You'd be surprised. Maybe someone will forgive you. I think again, beautiful messages. I love it.
Agreed. So next up is the tale of Iphis. The tale of Iphis from Ovid's Metamorphoses is truly revolutionary for its time, directly engaging with themes that resonate deeply even today. It's a testament to Ovid's interest in the fluidity of forms and identity. Ligdus's decree that a female infant must die is a stark portrayal of the harsh realities of patriarchal societies, where daughters could be seen as economic burdens. This immediately creates intense dramatic tensions and highlights Telethusa's desperate plight. The dream sequence is typical of ancient divine communications. Isis appears with her full retinue of Egyptian deities, Anubis, Bastet, Harpocrates, Osiris, emphasizing her divine authority and the foreign power that she brings to the Greek narrative. Her compassion enshrines or shines through as she directly advises Telethusa to defy social norms and trust in her divine power. This establishes Isis as a goddess who actively intervenes to alleviate human suffering and challenge oppressive circumstances. Telethusa's brave decision to raise Iphis as a boy and the choice of a gender-neutral name highlights the lengths to which a mother will go to protect her child. It also subtly introduces the idea that gender can, to some extent, be performative or socially constructed, long before modern discussions on the topic. The core of the dilemma emerges here. Iphis's love for Lanthe is depicted as genuine and profound. Or Ianthe is completely innocent of the deception. Iphis's internal torment, lamenting their monstrous love, reflects the societal norms of the time, which would have deemed a same-sex union impossible or unnatural. This showcases the emotional burden of living with a hidden identity and the anguish of impossible love. Telethusa's anxiety further builds the tension, knowing the wedding night will reveal all. The visit to Isis' temple is the climax. The parents and Iphis pour out their deepest fears and hopes. Isis's response is immediate and palpable. The shaking altar, trembling doors, and shining horn on her statue are classic divine manifestations. This is not a subtle shift. It's grand, undeniable miracle. Ovid's description of Iphis's transformation is vivid and physical. The darkening face, increased strength, stern features, and coarser hair all emphasize a clear, irreversible shift from female to male. Crucially, the transformation isn't just external. It includes the acquisition of male biological characteristics, making the union with Ianthe physically possible and socially acceptable within their world. The best part, though, is the happy ending. The marriage of Iphis and Ianthe, or Iphis and Ianthe, is the joyful resolution, a testament to Isis's power to rewrite destiny and bring about happiness in seemingly impossible situations. The commemorative tablet at the temple serves as a permanent record of the divine miracle. This myth is truly groundbreaking. While not directly articulating modern concepts of transgender identity, it explicitly explores the idea of a person's biological sex not aligning with their lived experience or desires, and the possibility of a divine intervention to align the two. It invites modern interpretations regarding gender identity, fluidity, and queer narratives, long before those terms existed. It firmly establishes Isis as a compassionate goddess who responds to sincere prayers and possesses the immense power to effect profound physical change, even defying biological norms. This reinforced her reputation in the Greco-Roman world as a benevolent and uniquely powerful deity capable of performing miracles. It's a prime example of Ovid's and, more broadly, the ancient world's fascination with metamorphosis, transformations, as a central theme in his work, using mythological narratives to explore deep human dilemmas.
Absolutely. I think it's really cool, and like, we get this all the time where people say, back in my day, this didn't exist. Well, I mean, here we are, 2,000 plus years ago, having the same
No,
conversation.
no, and the conversation has been had since the dawn of time.
Right,
Realistically,
exactly.
when we look all over the world, and we are going to say, I'm going to say this every single time this comes up, it has been documented. It's just not used in the same verbal
Mhm.
context as we use it in today. Because a
Well,
lot of times it was not stigmatized.
well, and then also you have to think too, like just the logistics of this, right? We have the benefit now of not only mass-produced media, like with like literal printing presses and things like that, but like instant access to information that many people didn't have before. And the further back you go, not only was that an issue, but the things that were made, how much of it survived? How much of it could be documented? Because not everyone was literate.
Mm-hmm.
Most people weren't. So, not, for nothing, it's not that these people didn't exist, but it wasn't always written down. And if it was written down, there's a chance it didn't, more than like 99% of it probably didn't make it. You don't know what that 99% said. Could be plenty more stories. Sappho, for example, is a really great example of this. She's a profound poet that everyone knows about, has heard about. She's no this being the lesbian one, but whatever. But like what we have are literal fragments of just a handful of things, and that's it. We know she made a ton of stuff, but like we only have like a couple lines for here and there. That's what survived. That's it. Imagine an entire book, and out of that book, you only have 3 pages, and that's what you got to work with.
Yep.
And not even 3 pages, parts that equal 3 pages. Like, that's what we're working with here. So again, yes, I know these people have always existed. And this is a great example of that. They wouldn't have such a common story being written about, well, rewritten about by someone like Ovid, unless it was popularly talked about.
Indeed.
We're going to move on to the last one, which is the story of Isis and the secret name of Ra. This myth is less about the physical prowess, again, because she's not known for that, and more about cunning, wisdom, and the ultimate source of power within ancient Egyptian cosmology, the true name. Ra, as the supreme leader or creator god, derived his immense power from his secret name. This concept is deeply embedded in Egyptian thought. Knowing a person's ren, or name, gave you power over their very being. The aging Ra shows signs of weakness, drooling, that sort of thing. He was just becoming an old man. And so he provides Isis with her opportunity. Isis desired more power. And this is not necessarily malevolent, but it is a strategic move to elevate her standing and potentially secure a better future for her son, Horus. This highlights Isis's incredible intelligence and magical skill. She does not use brute force. She uses stealth and an understanding of cosmic principles. Collecting Ra's saliva, which contains his essence, her and bodily fluids, man. But whatever. At least it's just saliva this time. And fashioning it into a serpent, imbued with his own power, is a stroke of pure magical genius. The serpent is invisible, making Ra's affliction all the more mysterious and potent. Ra's suffering is immense and dramatic, emphasizing the poison's potency and his helplessness. And again, just I think this is a metaphor to point out here. It's like almost like sometimes the things that are bothering you the most are yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can be toxic to yourself. You can hold yourself back, not even realize it. Look at Isa spitting wisdom. Hence her whole thing. Her whole thing. But anyway,
Jam.
but Isis is unyielding, and she knows precisely what she needs. The escalating pain forces Ra's hand and demonstrates that even the supreme god can be compelled by suffering. The act of Ra's secret name passing directly from his body into Isis's is a deeply symbolic and intimate transfer of cosmic authority. So yeah, essentially, it's not like, hey, I'm going to tell you my name. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. I mean, visually, it would be like something projecting out of you and going into someone else, and now you have that knowledge, I guess. It's some real anime stuff, like, but for all intents and purposes, he finally behaves and gives her that name, power. Therefore, Isis's power becomes immense, effectively making her a co-ruler, or even, I would say, surpassing the aging Ra in magical might. I mean, to be fair, he's an invalid still. She's not. So,
Mm-hmm.
so if she's just as magically powerful as he is, then that makes her better because she's not an invalid. But her subsequent effort, she does go ahead and cure him real quick, like done. It's like I got what I needed. Bye. But hey, good for her. The myth is the ultimate expression, though, of ancient Egyptian belief in the power of names. A name is considered an integral part of a being, and knowing it granted control over that being. Furthermore, this is a crucial myth in Isis's narrative, showing her transformation from a powerful goddess to one who rivals or even surpasses traditional supreme deities. It justifies her later widespread worship as a mistress of all. It firmly established Isis as the ultimate magician, capable of outwitting even the most ancient and powerful gods. Her intelligence and strategic thinking are paramount. The myth can be seen as a powerful testament to feminine power and ingenuity, where a goddess uses wisdom and cunning to overcome the brute force or establish patriarchal authority. Like the scorpion myth, this story was frequently cited in ancient Egyptian healing rituals as well, particularly snake bites. By involving Isis's knowledge of Ra's secret name, the practitioner aimed to harness her ultimate power over all poisons and ailments. I do hope, though, they weren't using spit. Just saying.
They might have been.
Probably. God. They hawked to it right into a wound. Ugh. Not all of it was like emergency. Sometimes they're using salves and plants that actually work. Other times they're spitting in your wound. I'm just saying. It's still tough. It's still rough. All right. And that's why it's important to acknowledge medicine. Okay.
It is.
Can't just right. But while Ra remains important, this myth subtly hints at his aging and gradual transfer of supreme power, laying the groundwork for the prominence of later divine reigns, especially that of Horus, who as the new king would inherit aspects of Ra's authority.
So to wrap things up, Isis became incredibly popular because she could adapt and take on traits from many other goddesses. This made her a goddess of 10,000 names, able to help with almost any problem. Isis's influence was huge. She protected sailors as Isis Pelagia and was seen as the ultimate mother figure with Isis Lectans. She was also Queen of Heaven, overseeing the sky, farming, and even guiding the dead. Her tears were even thought to cause the life-giving Nile floods. Her myths show her incredible abilities. She was a great healer and could even change a person's gender. Most notably, she outsmarted the sun god Ra to gain immense power. As the mother of the pharaoh, she also played a key role in Egyptian royal power. Perhaps. Most importantly, Isis's ability to change and her caring nature made her one of history's most beloved and powerful goddesses that continue to influence us and define us as a civilization today.
So that's it for this time. Next time we will dive into the physical aspects of her cult, and we will be exploring ancient ruins and specific practices involved with her worship. As you will see, she was prolific well outside not only her original geographic area, but even chronologically, as her stories and image still continue to inspire us today.
Now, as you know, we are a new podcast, and we are always looking to please the dark magic that is the algorithm. So wherever you are listening to this, whether it be Spotify, Apple, iHeart, or YouTube, if you take the time to give us a like and a positive review, it really goes a long way for us.
We will also be starting a Patreon soon, as soon as we have enough content in the backlog, like that winemaking episode we're working on. There you will hear episodes on topics outside the main purview of the podcast, said episode, create videos, do Q&As, sell merch, and in general get up to hijinks. So keep your eye out for that.
If you have any ideas, comments, or just want to say hi, you can reach us at timetravelersclubpodcast@gmail.com. We love it when people say hi. And as always, thank you for listening. Bye for now.
Bye.